Hi friends! Thanks for stopping by my channel today. My name's April and I'm going to be making a sign for Thanksgiving. Hopefully you find it meaningful and really cute. So let's go ahead and let's get started. We are going to need two of these signs from the Dollar Tree, and to start with I'm just cutting the tags off of it and giving it a good coat, front, back, sides, everything, white chalk paint. And I'm not worried that any of this is gonna show through, any of the printing that's on it. I didn't bother to take the paper off. I didn't sand down the glitter. This is really just gonna be a base coat, and I want it to be white in case what we put on top of it, if there's any parts that show through, I don't want to see those words that it started on. So once I've got one coat on that, I'm just going to put it to the side. Then I'm going to take the second one and again take the hanger off, and I am going to cut all of these little plank pieces apart. So this sign was cardboard and it cuts really easily, but it does take a couple passes, more than a couple, okay, I'm not gonna lie. You have to go through it quite a few times. So I did it on the front and then I flipped it over, I kind of bend it back and forth, and eventually that cardboard comes apart. It's not hard, you just have to, like I said, take your time, go through it. And then I trimmed up if there were any rough edges, and I'm going to do this to every one of those planks. Now that I've got all of the planks separated, I'm just going to push them to the side, and I'm going to cut apart this printout that I did in Word, and it's just 3 words: thankful, grateful, and peaceful. And I printed them in 3 different fonts, and I'm going to cut them apart because they're going to go on different planks in this project. So I'm just making sure that they fit on the planks that I want them to go on. Then I'm going to use this paper that I ordered off Amazon. I think it was made by Echo Park, and I'm just going to flip through it and pick out 5 or 6 pieces that I like. I'm not going to use the pages with the squares on it because I want to save those for cards. So I'm just kind of getting an idea of what's in this. It was a really cute paper pack, so if you see this, I recommend to pick it up. It's cute. And then these are the pieces that I decided on, so I'm just kind of laying them out in the order that I want. And I realized later that the last paper there that you see with the acorns and things on it, somehow when I was doing this it flipped over and I used the back side of it, but that's okay, the back side was pretty too. So I'm going to start by tracing the shape of the plank, the size, onto the paper, and then I'm just going to cut it out with my paper trimmer, and I'm going to do that for each one of the papers and each plank. Now this was the paper that I had meant to use, and somehow when I trimmed it, cut it out, and glued it down, I flipped it over. So instead of having this side with the leaves, I end up with the back side, which is like an orange checker. It's still cute. I just wish I had realized it and put that side up. Here they all are laying out in the order that I want them, and the top 4 I'm going to be transferring those designs onto. So here I'm taking my word thankful and I am coloring on the back of it with my pencil. You could also use carbon paper if you wanted. This was just easier for me at the time. And then I am tracing it onto my scrapbook paper. Now I'm just going to come back in with a Sharpie and trace over those lines that I just drew. And I am doing this really slowly. I've sped up this video, but I am just going very slowly and taking my time, and I'll just kind of go over it a little bit and back and forth and make some of the lines thicker. I really love the font that it was printed in, so I want to make sure that that translates through on my tracing. After I have traced over the word with the Sharpie and I've got it exactly how I want it, I'm going to decoupage that strip of paper onto the plank from the Dollar Tree sign, and I'm using Mod Podge to do that. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the grateful word, for the peaceful word, and also for the acorn and garland artwork. And for these I did use a little piece of washi tape to tape my pattern onto my scrapbook paper. So I scribbled on the back of the paper, and then I used a pencil to go over the word. Then I will use a Sharpie on the scrapbook paper to fill in my pencil lines. The last thing I did was to glue it down with some Mod Podge onto the plank. I did that with the acorn, and I did that with the peaceful. However, the word grateful is not going onto a plank, it's going directly onto the very first sign that we painted. I'm going to glue it directly onto that sign. And I thought I would just take a minute while you're watching this to talk about these 3 words that I picked. So I thought about some of my favorite scriptures. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, his mercy endures forever. That is repeated over and over in the Psalms. It's probably the beginning of 5 or 6 different Psalms. And so when I think of thankful, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. Like, I truly need to remember that. And gratitude and gratefulness just goes right along with thankfulness. You really can't have one without the other. And I really want to have a grateful heart. And then peace. You know, every day in Mass, my peace I leave you, my peace I give you. And we hear that over and over. I really felt like what I was needing right now was peace. I mean, it has been a crazy year. We have gone through so many things that I don't even want to list them all. Trials of homeschool and pandemic and murder hornets and, you know, family fighting over elections, and there's just been so much that I really felt like what my heart was crying for was peace. One of the scriptures that stands out in my mind is Philippians, the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. Boy, is that not the truth. There is no way that I understand what has happened this year and what has happened to 2020, but I can have peace that God understands. He has a plan, And so that peace of God that surpasses all of my understanding will guard my heart and minds in Christ Jesus. So this is just a little reminder that I want to see. So each day when I walk by my piano, which is, I hung this over the piano, so each day when I walk by there, I can be reminded of that I should be thankful, that I should be grateful, and that I really should be peaceful. And I pray that for you too. I hope that you find peace as this year draws to an end in the celebration of Christ coming at Christmas time, and even if we're not with all of our family at Thanksgiving, I hope that you still find something to be thankful about, something to be grateful about, and that God's peace comes over you. So for the very top plank on the sign, I like this little acorn and kind of laurel looking garland. So I am doing the same process as before, pencil on the back, tracing it onto my scrapbook paper, and then going over it with a Sharpie. When I've got it the way that I like it, I decoupage it onto the plank. I have 2 planks left, so I'm going to decoupage the plaid scrapbook paper onto one of them. On the second one, I am going to put that directly onto the sign, so it doesn't get glued to a plank beforehand. Now I've got back out the sign that I did not cut apart, and I am going to glue the word grateful and one of the plain strips directly onto that sign. Now that orange check is the one that had the leaves on the back, and I don't know what happened. I flipped it over and glued it down that way, and it's fine. It looks cute. So going back to work on the planks, I'm going to do a few things to these. I am going to trim the paper around the edges that hangs over, and then I am going to take a sanding block, and I'm just going to go around all 4 sides of each plank and just kind of rough it up a little bit, and then I'm going to distress it with that same color white chalk paint that I used on the uncut sign. I'm going to go around all the edges, and I'm going to go across the text and the face of the plank too, just to give it a little bit of a shabby chic look. I'm going to take these 2 different spools of twine. One came from Dollar Tree, I think, or they may have both come from Walmart, but they're different thicknesses, and so I'm using them to give a little bit of added height to these two planks. So I'm going to wrap the ends of the Peaceful plank, and I'm going to use the thinner twine to wrap the end of the Thankful plank, and then those two will sit up off of my base a little bit extra. Now I'm going to use that thinner twine for the Thankful plank, and I was very neat on the Peaceful one, and I had them all lined up straight, 3 rows right next to each other. So on this one I'm being a little more messy, I guess, with it. So I'm just kind of wrapping them around, and it's going all different ways. And then I'm going to glue those down to the base, and the top with the acorn and the bottom plaid plank get glued flush to the board. I've just made a real quick simple bow for that. I'm not sure where I'm going to use it. And then I decided I wanted to put some floral at the bottom of this, so I'm just taking apart a couple of these picks I think came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just playing with it to kind of see where I want those to go, and then I'm going to hot glue them in place. I decided that I did like the little twine bow up at the top, but it just wasn't big enough, so I used the thicker twine and I made a bigger bow. I looked at putting it there at the bottom, but in the end I stuck it onto the top with hot glue, and then the little tiny bow that I made at the beginning, I just put that right in the middle of the bigger bow. I added a few more berries into that floral spray at the bottom, and the last thing that I did, I don't think my camera got this, but I cut a piece of twine and glued it to the back to be able to hang it. And here it is, all hung up above my piano. I really like the way it turned out. I do wish that I had not flipped that one piece of paper over. It had some of the darker tones that are in that top green. I felt like it would have tied it in a little bit better, but there is some dark green in the floral. But overall, I think it's very successful. I like it, it's cute. I honestly am a sucker for gingham, so the fact that there are 2 of them in there really doesn't hurt my feelings at all. And I like the message. So thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed the craft. If you did, hit like, and if you would like to subscribe, you can click that button too. God bless you and your family.